should we just break the bad news off the bat that this is our last episode of the year?
Oh my god! Yeah. This is
we're taking. Sorry, go ahead.
No, my lord, please. No,
just saying. We're taking a bit of a break. Sorry, go.
We're clearly struggling this morning because it's morning, by the way. But yes, it's a rough time for us all to say goodbye.
We'll be back in the new year, new, fresh.
Yes.
All our plastic surgery should have healed by then, so we'll look completely different.
I will look like Grace, and Grace will look like me. It's kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. That every year we switch.
You would never know. Our doctor is pretty talented, actually. So, of course, we share the doctor, because why wouldn't we?
Yeah, I mean, he knows both of our faces, so it all just makes more sense that way. Plus, he gives us a discount.
A discount, yes. 2 for 1.
The good old face swap, yearly face swap.
Oh, but yeah, no, sadly, this is our last episode of the year. And we're heading into a busy and packed holiday season. It's technically already holiday season. It's December 16th. We're in the throes of the holiday season right now. It's
for those of you that, for those of you that make presents, you're definitely in the throes. I unfortunately taught Chelsea how to crochet about a month ago. So now she's crocheting a lot of her Christmas presents. And yeah, I mean, I got a list of things I need to get done crochet-wise. Mm-hmm. So
I finally, I texted Grace the moment it happened, finished all of my Xmas gifts this year, crochet gifts. And it felt like really satisfying to like be finished, but also like a weight off my shoulders. Mm-hmm. And also, third feeling, an incredible excitement to finally pick a project for myself to do, for me, myself and I. No offense to anybody that's going to receive a crochet gift this year, but god damn, sometimes you just want to treat yourself.
I know.
Treat yourself. I did start something last night, and I'm really excited to show you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it.
No big deal.
A hint for the listeners? Is it like a piece of clothing or an accessory?
It's an accessory.
Okay.
Yes. I was inspired by a TikTok that I saw, and the goal of this project is to become a better crocheter. I'm doing something where I can practice specific techniques to like be better at certain stitches and feel better about, my tension and all that stuff. So basically that's kind of like where it comes from, the urge to do this project. But I think I'm going to have something fun at the end. So.
Okay. Well, I'm excited.
Yes. I'm excited too.
Other than crocheting, we also host this podcast that you're listening to right now.
True.
That's my segue for you. It's 2 Girls, 1 Crossword. I'm Grace Topinka.
I'm Chelsea Rowan. This is your favorite weekly Podword Crosscast, even though for the past couple months it hasn't been so weekly. It has been bi-weekly at best. But we appreciate you sticking around and hanging with us as we traverse these difficult times. And by difficult, I mean just busy.
Yeah. Shall we get into our Pollapalooza?
Let's do Pollapalooza. It was an interesting one this week.
Okay, but look, people, sometimes I just don't have it in me to make a poll that has 4 different options. Some topics don't lend themselves to that, and last week, it was like the topics were masquerade parties and bullfighting. So it was kind of like, what do I do for that?
Yeah, it's true.
Have you ever been to a masquerade ball? Have you ever been to a bullfighting? And that's
yes or no.
What I asked. I said, have you ever been to a true masquerade party where everyone had to keep their masks on until reveal time? Most people, 90% of people said no, but 10% of people said yes. So we do have a few followers on Twitter who have been to a proper masquerade party where the point is to stay anonymous until the end of the night.
Wow. I think that just goes to show you how rare a true masquerade is and how special it is if you're invited to a true masquerade. Like, take it seriously, and like, you're going to be a diamond in the rough. 1 out of 10 people who have been to a real masquerade party. So live it up if you're invited.
Maybe I'll make my wedding a masquerade party.
Such a great idea. Wasn't it already? I have my
Could be.
I have my mask.
You could wear a mask if you want and no one's stopping you.
I've got a mask change on the hour every hour until the party's over.
I expect nothing less from you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. True. Good poll. Yeah, no, I feel like those topics were a little bit trickier. Sometimes when we do like serious topics, not that both of our topics were serious last week, it's like hard to be like, this traumatic topic we just discovered or talked about.
Like, what's your favorite way to kill a bull? You know, just.
Yeah, it doesn't really lend itself to that kind of poll setting. But that means it is time for us to go into the hits and the shits. I'll start us off. Okay? Because last time we were on air, we had a little bit of a shit, and by shit, it was just bad news. We had the news that the Sunday, magazine from the Washington Post was shutting down, and we were all a little uncertain about what that would mean for the Sunday Evan Bernholz puzzles, which, as you all know, Grace and I are the co-founders, president, and vice president of the Evan Bernholz fan club. And so we were a little concerned. All we had at the time was like a couple tweets from Evan, kind of, explaining the situation. But we have an update. We have an update directly from the source himself. Mr. Evan Bernholz wrote to us to let us know the real deal. So I'm just going to read his exact message to us because I feel like it gives a lot of information. And if you have further questions about how to access these puzzles, I am not that person to give you the answer. Because this is all I have. This information is literally all that I have. And the information is this. Quote, even though Sunday Magazine is shutting down, I will still be writing crosswords for the Washington Post, and thankfully you will still be able to solve the puzzles online. What will change for subscribers is that the puzzles will be printed in the arts and style section of the newspaper instead. You can also print out the PDF from the Post website, which recreates exactly how it's supposed to look in the paper. End quote. That is directly from the source.
Well, I'm hoping it's not different for me then, because I just go into the app and I'm not subscribed or anything. You can still access the crosswords. You do have to watch an ad, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that means people who access the Sunday puzzles for free by watching an ad will have to subscribe. We will find out in the new year.
Yeah, we'll find out shortly.
We will find out shortly, and we will come back to you with more details as we get them. But yeah. That's all I have for now, but it's good news that Evan's continuing to rate the puzzles with Washington Post. They'll still be available. There are ways to access them. It's all good. The crying that Grace and I did post-recording last week is null and void now, so we're all good.
Our tears have dried.
They have dried.
Well, speaking of Evan, I can talk about this last Sunday's Washington Post puzzle in my Heights and Shites.
Okay, let's do it.
So it was the December 11th puzzle. It was called Fringe Film Festival. And when you started it, there was like a little, opening window with some notes. And it said, well, it said this thing like, your cursor might disappear while you solve this puzzle. If this happens, try typing a letter. I'll get into that later. But then he listed, it was like 13. It said Fringe Films and had 13 different things listed. And it said, for example, 1982 film that takes place in cyberspace. 2013 film with a virtual assistant named Samantha. 2003 film with the line treat every day like Christmas, etc. The one I'm going to talk about, 2004 film that served as a basis of a horror-themed Las Vegas escape room. So, by the way, Las Vegas has a lot of escape rooms. We keep talking about taking
we should do a Las Vegas
ironic trip to Vegas. A lot of them are headquartered there. Like big escape room chains are headquartered in Vegas. So
okay.
Anyway, so it was basically a pretty normal puzzle, except this was kind of the revealer of the theme. 78 across. What edgy films do, just like 13 films in this puzzle. And the answer was push the boundaries. So when you were solving the puzzle, when you were on the edge, sometimes there wasn't enough spaces for the answer. So it was one of those where you write something outside of the puzzle. Like on the fringe, for example, 27 across was blank me, in parentheses, SOS. So it was save, as in save me. But S was written outside of the puzzle.
Okay.
37 across was similar to, and then akin. And then 43 across was has a desire for. The answer was wants. So S from save, A from akin, W from wants was all on the outside of the puzzle, and that spells Saw. And Saw was the movie that the escape room is based off of.
Oh.
So that goes all around the puzzle. It's Tron, her, Elf, once, UHF, Ted, Star, Ida, Dad, Emma, Red, and Saw. And if you take the first letter of each of those movies, it spells The Outsiders.
Evan.
Yes.
Evan, buddy.
The Outsiders, also a movie outside the puzzle.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was fun.
Amazing.
There were some other good clues from this puzzle that I liked. 45 across, one grabbing a late night snack, ? And the answer was owl. 49 down, open source ? The answer was PGA.
Like very good. That's a golf joke, folks.
56 down, non-alternative ? And the answer was we.
Oh.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
73 down, drink mentioned in the book Smuggler's Cove, exotic cocktails, rum, and the cult of tiki. It was Mai Tai, which I liked because a long time ago we did a tiki episode learning about the rise of like why tiki bars were so popular for a very small amount of time and how they kind of are messed up because they basically just combine a bunch of different cultures together.
Yeah.
Including the Mai Tai.
Yeah.
78 down, Elvis's dog Champagne, e.g., and the answer was Poodle. And I didn't know that he had a poodle named Champagne. But
Champagne is the best name for a dog.
I was like, that's a really good name, especially for a poodle.
Especially for a poodle.
You know, kind of bubbly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all the ones I had from that one.
Okay, so I'll start my hits with the Friday, December 9th New Yorker by Cameron Austin Collin. And as our listeners may remember, the New Yorker has started doing themed puzzles on Fridays, and so this was a themed puzzle. And if you ever see like a Cameron Austin Collins puzzle, you can like pretty much be certain he'll have some sort of entertainment industry or like movie, pop culture type clues in his puzzles. And this theme was 2022 in movies, so it's exciting to see New Yorker starting to do their 2022 in puzzles and starting with the Cameron Austin Collins with in movies. So some of the movies and clues, I'll just read some of the clues and give you some of the movies that appeared. So for instance, one down, film in which Cate Blanchett plays a world-renowned composer-conductor from October 2022, and the answer is Tar, which I feel like we should see that. I think it looks pretty good. And this is for all the millennials out there, Grace and I included, another from the puzzle and also from 2022. 8 down, Marcel the Blank with Shoes On from June 2022. And the answer is, well, and then the clue continues, movie blending live action and stop motion animation. And the answer is Shell, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which is a throwback to a ultra viral video from our younger days. It was very exciting to see that it finally got the feature film it deserved. I loved Marcel.
I heard it was actually really good.
I had
the movie.
I know, but I haven't been going to movies, so
me neither. I mean, some I'll go see a horror movie.
She'll see a horror movie once in a while, yeah. But those were some of the movies that were in there. I also liked 44 across, SpongeBob's Pet Snail in SpongeBob SquarePants. And the answer is Gary, which we just love to see SpongeBob representation in puzzles. And then 62 across, Chewy Morsel from a dispensary, and the answer was Weed Gummy. I like seeing Weed Gummy in a crossword. I feel like we see weed, semi-regularly at this point, but Weed Gummy is a new one, so bravo. That was a good puzzle.
This is like a quick aside. For our listeners, my loving cat Arnold pretended to die last weekend, but he's fine. But he was on his deathbed anyways. It was a complicated URI, but the issue is that he wasn't eating anything. So we took him to the vet. Cats, it's very dangerous if they don't eat or drink. And he was like, okay, I'll give you this appetite stimulant. It's like a little gel that you rub on the inside of their ear. And he was like, don't get it on your skin because it's a human medicine. He's like, don't get it on your skin. He's like, and it causes like appetite stimulant, but it can also either make them really groggy or super hyper. I'm like, what is this? Like a weed gel? And the doctor's like, no, not exactly. But now I'm curious. So I have it if you want to rub some on the inside of your ear.
That's what I want to do as soon as we hang up the phone. I'm going to come
Yeah.
over.
Well,
amazing.
It didn't work.
It didn't work, but Arnold is
FYI.
doing well now.
Yeah.
So.
He miraculously recovered, and now he's like, why are you guys watching me
Why were you
constantly?
guys so sad for so long?
Yeah. That little stinker.
Stressing me out, guys. Relax. Yeah.
Okay, I can talk about the Tuesday, December 13th New Yorker by Anna Schechtman.
Let's do it.
Speaking of Arnold, 14 across, Jenny Any Dots or Monk Strap in a long-running Broadway hit.
A cat.
Yes.
Duh.
Cats. Love to see cats clues.
Cats.
45 across, overhead expense for a filmmaker, question mark? And the answer was drone shot.
Nice. I was like, lighting? Drone shots. Very nice. Very nice.
37 down, funambulists and trapeze artists. Acrobats. I just like that word.
Grace and I did take trapeze lessons for a couple of them together. That was a lot of fun. Actually,
I keep thinking about like I should just go back and do the 8-week course, but it's expensive. I mean,
it is, and it's probably more expensive now too. Yeah.
I mean, it's whatever. It's an expensive sport to run because you need the people who work there, and it's like a huge, thing of not machinery, but
yeah, it's a safety
a lot
thing.
Of equipment.
Yeah, and you need them to be really well trained, but also you learn so much almost instantly, which is something that I was kind of shocked about. I think we took maybe 2 or 3 classes.
Yeah,
and
by the end we were like flipping off and landing like
shocking.
Doing a flip and then catching or someone else catching us.
Yeah, it was shocking, but in like such a fun way. And you leave and you're like, wow, I just did one of the coolest things ever. That's kind of how you feel. So
we were in harnesses the whole time, FYI.
But that's okay. I want to be in a harness the whole time.
It was so fun.
When
I think about it all the time.
Yeah, when I went to vote, because I vote where it's at.
Yes, I voted there as well.
And I saw their signs and stuff, and I was like, oh, maybe we should do this
Calling
again.
You back.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember they had the trampoline stuff too? That was fun.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not flexible, so like
I know.
Some of the stuff that they, have to do down the line, like I need to start stretching now.
Well, and I have no core strength because during the one class it started to do like more complicated moves, and the guy had to take me aside to like teach me how to do the move, and it's like it's not that I don't know how to do the move, my dude. It's that I have zero core strength, so I literally can't physically activate the part of my body that needs to be activated to do the move.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Well, let's keep trying." And I'm like, "I'm not gonna gain
it ain't happening.
Core in the next 5 minutes. I hate to be the bearer of bad news." Anyway, but a lot of fun, regardless. Do you have anything else from that puzzle?
Not from that puzzle.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the Monday, December 12th, New Yorker by Natan last. I liked 4 down. 1, 2, 3, and to the foe. Snoop Doggy Dog and blank is at the do. And I'm not going to do the accent, guys. And it's nothing but a G thing, lyrics. And the answer is Dr. Dre. I just like seeing Dr. Dre. We see Dr. Dre clued, pretty often. But to have like the full lyrics in the clue is a lot of fun. And it is one of those like really popular songs that you should know the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then another song lyric or song clue from this puzzle. 6 down. I just thought this was an interesting fun fact. Song whose music video was surpassed by Ping Fong's Baby Shark Dance as the most viewed video on YouTube in 2020. So Baby Shark Dance surpassed Despacito in 2020, which I didn't know.
That was the most viewed music video?
Apparently.
I've never seen it.
I have watched it an insane amount of times.
You have? What's so good about it?
Well, Despacito became like an anthem of like one period of time, like that the time that I went to Uruguay. Mm-hmm. We listened to Despacito a lot there, and it kind of like transitioned into my back in the United States life. And then Justin Bieber did the cover of Despacito, so I feel like all around that time I was watching a lot of Luis Fonsi Despacito music video. So,
but which music video is the most viewed one? The Justin Bieber cover or the original?
I'm gonna say the original. That's my guess.
Okay.
Because I feel like Natan would say if it was the Justin Bieber Luis Fonsi duo,
Mm.
which is not that good, guys. I'm sorry. Stick to the original. But sorry, Justin. Also from that puzzle, 7 down, work out in public, perhaps. This is a full 15-letter spanner, and the answer was art installation.
Nice.
Very good. And then I like 32 down, local ID, and the answer was union card. You're in the local. Very good. Chicago's a big union town, folks, so support your unions. 46 down, jam ingredients, question mark. The answer is cars, which is not why I put this clue here. I had to put this clue here.
I see.
Yes, I put this clue here because Matt and I bought a jam advent calendar from Bon Maman. And if you have not bought a jam advent calendar, you are missing out in a way that I truly don't know how to explain to you. It's been an incredible pleasure every morning to open a thimbleful of jam, to put on a tiny croissant. The flavors are amazing. They're small enough, and it's just like a nice little treat to have every morning. But I would say it's good for 2 people. So if you got like a house, you got mom, dad, and 4 kids, maybe the Bon Maman jam calendar is not for you.
Maybe only 2 people like jam.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, would recommend. It's been a pleasure. I cannot wait to open the jam from today. Yesterday's was strawberry and verbena. That was the flavor, which is like a lemony tasting flower or something. Anyway, good stuff. Good stuff all around.
I did the December 14th Wednesday New Yorker by Amy Lucido.
Yeah, I had to, I'm not going to interrupt you, but I had to stop myself from putting nearly every single clue in my hits because Amy, you guys know, we're big Amy Lucido fans as well. And when Amy has a puzzle in New Yorker, we're just like ready to go. So I'll let Grace take care of this one, but I have like almost every clue on my hits.
All right, well, you can fill in the ones that I don't mention. 54 across, circular mushroom formations that have supernatural associations in some cultures. Fairy rings. I've never seen one in real life. Okay.
Same.
27 down, Edward's adoptive mother in Twilight. Esme.
Of course.
We love a Twilight clue.
We love it.
Oh, wait, that's the only one I got from there. Or those are the only 2 I had from there. So yeah, go nuts.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to fill the rest in. I put 5 across, Menzel, who voiced 16 across in Frozen, and 16 across was Elsa. And the answer is Adina. And every time I see Adina, I'm a millennial, I'm sorry, but Adele
Nazim.
Yeah. Shout out to John Travolta for like the most important cultural moment of like the last 20 years.
I went through a huge Idina Menzel phase. You guys know I love Broadway. And
yeah.
I went through, my Wicked phase lasted like over a year.
That's okay.
Plus. And she was also in Rent. So double whammy. I was like obsessed with her.
Yeah. That's okay. She deserves to be obsessed with. 18 across, quote, get off the internet, end quote, in internet speak. And the answer was touch grass, which I thought was pretty funny. 23 across is sexy, so to speak. The answer is can get it. I like that one. And I'm glad you put the fairy rings thing in here because I was going to say, if I did this after I had done my research or had picked my topic. And if I hadn't, I would have picked fairy rings. And I was hoping you had done fairy rings so that we could talk about it.
I was going to do it, but there wasn't too much. Like, I couldn't find that much on it other than why it happens. Everything was like different folklore says that it's like dangerous to go into fairy rings or for humans to like step inside fairy rings. But I couldn't find anything deeper than that.
Much deeper. Got it. I also liked this 6 down app that might teach you how to say, I'm eating bread and crying on the floor in Norwegian. And the answer is Duolingo. That was good. And then 19 down, speaking of acrobatics, bending over backwards, etc. The answer was gymnastics. I always wish I had been in gymnastics class. And then 45 down, which is the perfect way to transition into the next segment, but I'm not ready to transition yet.
I know. I was like, I should just like that and then use it at the very end.
Transition from one podcast segment to another, say, and the answer is segued. And we're not ready to segue yet. At least I'm not ready to segue yet. So
I'm not. I have one more puzzle.
Me too.
Then I am ready to segue.
Okay, let's segue to that puzzle then.
Okay, I did the Thursday, December 15th New Yorker. I just did New Yorkers this week by Patrick Barry.
Can anybody blame us?
I only have a few from this one, but this one shocked me. I feel like I've seen it before and it shocked me before. 40 across, Florida's second most populous city after Jacksonville. And the answer is Miami. I would have sworn that Miami's the most populous city in Florida, but apparently Jacksonville is?
Jacksonville. Who knows? Is Jacksonville
What is
up
even
north?
in? Yes.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like it's the capital. I know there's a university there, but there's plenty of universities in Miami, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is going on in Jacksonville? Explain yourself.
You tell me. I've never been to Jacksonville. In fact, I've rarely been outside of Miami when it comes to like going to places in Florida. I've been to Orlando and Tampa for theme parks, and Sanibel and St. Augustine, and that's it.
That's all there is in Miami.
I got no idea.
Florida.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned. 29 down. Much sought after Hermes purse named after an English singer and actress. And the answer was Birkin bag. It was fun to see it in there.
Bag. That's great. I like to see that in the Patrick puzzle. That's good.
Mm-hmm. That's all I have.
What is the TikTok sound?
It's like this Birkin. My other Birkin.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Exactly. Let's talk about it. Exactly. That guy, his audios are fun. And then I'm going to end on this puzzle. I'm going to take us to a New York Times puzzle just to show a little love. Just show a little love. Monday, December 12th, New York Times by Anthony J. Caruso and Jalsheen Bernakel. The theme was fun. 39 across was the revealer, dog command, or a hint to the stars of the answers to the 4-starred clues. And the answer was go fetch. So I liked this because we like dogs on this podcast, so showing some love to our furry little friends. And then the theme answers were 16 across. High energy person, metaphorically. Ball of fire. So the beginning of the answer is ball, which is related to go fetch. 10 down. Some fine porcelain, and the answer was bone china. So bone, obviously. And then 33 down. Don't quit now. And the answer was stick it out. And then 63 across, documentation leading to proof, and the answer was paper trail. So yeah, it was a good puzzle. It was a good theme. And then I'll end on this clue because I'm hungry. 2 down, carne blanc, taco filling, and the answer was asada. If you, Grace, specifically need a really good taco place to order from, I'm telling you, I got a good one.
Have we been there at the place in Rogers Park?
Oh, maybe. Did we go there together? We might have. I might have taken you there. It
was good, if I remember correctly.
It's very good.
Correctly.
You better remember correctly. Anyway, and so now it's time to segue, I think. Into
the coin flip.
Into the coin flip. I'm flipping the coin now. It's tails!
Oh my gosh.
She's back.
Okay. Well, my topic, you actually segued perfectly into my topic.
Oh.
It comes from the December 13th New Yorker by Anna Schechtman. 9 down, border crossing fare, ? And the answer is Tex-Mex.
Wow. Oh my God. Something
So
about
if you're
today.
hungry, I know that my stomach's just going to growl in this episode, but I'm talking about Tex-Mex.
Okay.
Shredded yellow cheese, flour tortillas, corn chips covered in melted cheese, Taco Bell. Sound good to you?
Yes.
That restaurant probably in Rogers Park, although I'd have to go back to check if it's actually Tex-Mex or more Mexican.
More authentic. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
And what's the difference between the two? Well, according to an article on SeriousEats.com called What is the Difference Between Tex-Mex and Mexican Food by Meredith Bethune, the distinction between the two has actually been evolving for years and has even recently started to blur. But the cuisine that we call Tex-Mex in the U.S. is rooted in the state's Tejano culture. Tejanos are Texans of either Spanish or Mexican heritage who lived in Texas before it became a republic. We talked about them in the Remember the Alamo episode 94, Bending the Truth. That goes into a little more detail about, how Texas was really Mexico, and then it became Texas and became part of the U.S.
It's a great episode. Listen to it.
Yes. Enchiladas are a good example of the difference. So in Tex-Mex version of enchiladas, it's usually grated yellow cheese wrapped in tortillas covered with a dark red chili sauce that maybe also has ground beef in it. However, in Mexico, beef is a rarity. So most Mexican cuisine has chicken or pork. And their enchiladas are usually covered in green tomatillo sauce or mole and sprinkled with white cheese.
And in Santa Fe, you can get both.
Yeah,
it's called
at
Christmas.
The same restaurant?
Yeah, it's called like Christmas or something like that, where you get both red and green or something.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, there's a Mexican restaurant by me that does that too. I just got that. They had like a mole one and then a red chili one. Another difference is the heavy use of cumin in Tex-Mex. So cumin is used a little bit in northern Mexico, but it's not used at all in southern Mexico. That's like purely a Tex-Mex.
I've heard of that.
Ingredient.
Yeah. If you're looking at recipes online for Mexican food, quote unquote Mexican food, and they have cumin in it, it's not like necessarily a bad thing, but that's more Tex-Mex. Cumin is not common in like traditional Mexican food.
Chile con carne, sizzling fajitas, the like plate that comes out. And nachos are other Tex-Mex staples. So let's look into the history of the cuisine. Do it. I got most of my information from an article, my stomach's growling, on history.com called Tracing the History of Tex-Mex by Sarah Pruitt. So Native Americans lived in the area that is now Texas for thousands of years before the first European settlers, colonizers, arrived in the early 1500s. For more than 300 years after that, Texas and Mexico were part of the Spanish colony called New Spain. In 1821, Mexico got its independence from Spain, but it was still, very much linked to Texas because it was this similar native population. It was the same area, then it just got split up. In 1845, Texas won its independence from Spain and became part of the U.S., aka the Battle of the Alamo. Also, a complicated history. You can listen to that episode if you want to find out more. But Texas and Mexico were always linked. The term Tex-Mex, with no hyphen, originally began as an abbreviation for the Texas and Mexican Railroad, chartered in 1875. This railroad was 52 miles long, and it was created to deliver sheep from Texas ranches to customers along the Gulf of Mexico. So that was the first Tex-Mex, without a hyphen. The cuisine is Tex-Mex, and that emerged in San Antonio in the 1880s, and San Antonio is still considered to be like the place for true like Tex-Mex cuisine.
Let's go to San Antonio.
Yes. It was adapted
right now,
from
I'm hungry.
from Tejano home cooking. So of course, there were Tejanos in Texas who were making Mexican foods in their home, but then they were kind of exposed to different ingredients. So that they kind of had Tex-Mex cooking already in their home. A group of women known as the Chili Queens would sell cheap and delicious food in the city's plazas. So they would sell like a bowl of chili con carne with a side of bread and water, and you could buy it for a dime. So the price and also like the delicious flavor made it super popular among everyone, especially among, the working class, because it was very, very affordable. So the Chili Queens were huge into like bringing it outside of just Tejano homes. And then at the Chicago World's Fair in 1893, there was a San Antonio chili stand. So people around the country could have a taste of this Tex-Mex cuisine. They weren't using that word just yet to describe it, but essentially that's what it was. Then there were people who weren't Tejano who came in and influenced the cuisine. For example, around the same time as the Chicago World's Fair, a German immigrant from New Braunfels, Texas, named Willie Gebhardt, moved to San Antonio and started selling his own brand of chili powder. It was a pre-mix of Grand Ancho chilies, cumin, oregano, and black pepper. Traditional Mexican cooks would scoff at the idea of using like a pre-mixed, spice packet, but the convenience of Gebhardt's Eagle chili powder made it a hit. So that was like this random German guy.
Yeah, amazing.
Made,
Love
like,
the name.
The Tex-Mex chili combo. In 1900, Chicago-born Otis Farnsworth opened, he was the owner of the Original Mexican Restaurant in San Antonio. That is the name of the restaurant, Original Mexican Restaurant.
Got it.
He started the trend of serving an entree with a side of rice and beans, and he called it the regular. So many Mexican restaurants in Texas started, copying this, and they basically, that's the birth of the combination platter, often topped with sour cream and melted cheese, and it became a signature of Tex-Mex cuisine.
OMG, you gotta have your rice and beans. You gotta.
Yeah, but that's not common in Mexico.
Okay, that makes, well, I don't know if it makes sense. It's just interesting.
Platter.
Nice.
Nachos, another Tex-Mex staple, were born in the 1940s, and there is a story about its inception, although many people think that it's fake, but I will tell the story anyways.
Okay.
The story goes, in 1943, a group of military wives from Eagle Pass in Texas made a short trip over the Rio Grande into Piedras Negras in Mexico. They stopped for a cocktail hour snack at the Victory Club restaurant, and they were served by a man named Ignacio Anaya. Ignacio went by the nickname Nacho. As no one was in the kitchen yet, Nacho made an impromptu dish consisting of fried sliced corn tortillas topped with melted cheese and jalapeno strips. The ladies loved it, and they called it Nacho's Special. So
I really wish that was true. I hope it's true.
I don't know. Maybe.
Amazing. Is Nacho is it just like a traditional nickname or like?
Well, I could see how it would come from Ignacio. I don't know. I don't know anyone named Nacho, but...
Oh, Ignacio. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I know this is true of Cubans, and I feel like it's true of a lot of Latinos. They love their nicknames.
Yes.
Because we talked about this in the naming episode. Everyone has like very similar names.
Yes.
So, you gotta have a nickname.
You gotta have a nickname.
Okay. Even though these dishes were extremely popular in the U.S., they were considered Mexican food. Like, people in the U.S. were like, oh yeah, this is Mexican food, like these nachos and the combination platters. Mm-hmm. Tex-Mex didn't become its own specific cuisine until the 70s, thanks to Diana Kennedy's cookbook. So you might be thinking, like, Diana Kennedy, why is she the, why does she get to decide? Well, Diana was British, but she spent decades studying and transcribing recipes and cooking techniques from Mexico. In fact, she was decorated with the Order of the Aztec Eagle in 1981, which is the highest honor the Mexican government can bestow upon a foreigner. So she was obsessed with Mexico and authentic Mexican cuisine. And in her book, she said that she, quote, had no use for the mixed plates served in Mexican restaurants north of the border. And she called it Tex-Mex. And this did rub some people the wrong way. But it was her book that popularized the term and kind of put it on the map as its own category of American cuisine with its own distinctive flavors.
Because it is, and it should be.
Yeah. So let's go into more of the origins of some of these flavors and ingredients.
Yeah.
So Tex-Mex was highly influenced by Spanish missions in Mexico. These missions brought together Aztec staples like beans with European ingredients like rice. So, I guess rice isn't as common in traditional Mexican cuisine. The Spanish also brought with them other Tex-Mex flavors like olive oil, onions, garlic, oregano, and cilantro. The American Railroad brought ingredients to Texas like flour, lard, bacon, and molasses, along with cast iron skillets and Dutch ovens. And what about the cumin? So the heavy use of cumin relative to traditional Mexican cooking can apparently be traced back to the 1500s when the Spanish brought enslaved people of Moroccan descent from the Canary Islands to their settlements in San Antonio. As a result, Moroccan cooking, which uses a lot of cumin and garlic, influenced Tex-Mex cooking. So there was just a lot of, different cultures coming together and bringing, and just different accessibility to new ingredients. And Tex-Mex wasn't just in Texas. So there are two restaurants that claim they invented the chimichanga, and they're both in Arizona. So just that whole region. If you don't know, chimichangas is like a fried burrito. So
all good things.
There's two restaurants that claim they have the origin story, and they're both kind of funny. So El Charro Cafe in Tucson claims that the original owner was with her young nieces and accidentally dropped a burrito into the fryer. She said chimichanga to avoid a similar sounding Mexican curse word that starts with chinga and ends with madre. So I didn't know that. But I could have, it's like the same way we would say like, oh, fudge.
Fudge
if you're like in front of kids. She's like, chimichanga.
Yeah.
But Macayo's Mexican restaurant in Phoenix claims to have invented the chimichanga after deep frying unsold burritos so that they'd keep longer. The owner, Woody Johnson, named them chimichangas, which is supposed to mean toasted monkeys. So yeah, I don't know who invented it, but those are the two. They both claim that they did.
They both seem like reliable stories, but the fact that they both landed on the name chimichanga, something's
Suspicious.
not lining up.
In 1960, a man named Glenn Bell owned a hot dog stand in San Bernardino, but after seeing long lines at a Tex-Mex restaurant across the street, he went on to open Taco Bell and bring Tex-Mex to Americans all over the country. So yeah, obviously Taco Bell is not owned by a Mexican-American, but...
All right, the more you know.
But Tex-Mex isn't just popular in the US. There are Tex-Mex restaurants all over the world. However, there's one other country who stands above the rest when it comes to loving Tex-Mex. Do you want to guess what country it is? Comes up a lot.
France?
Yes. So, according to the Houston Press, the first restaurant to bill itself as Tex-Mex, of course there are restaurants serving like Tex-Mex cuisine, but they just called themselves like a Mexican restaurant. But the first restaurant that called itself Tex-Mex didn't open in the US, but in France. So Claude Benayoun, sorry, pronouncing that wrong, tasted Tex-Mex food in Texas while he was a college student in California. He returned to Paris with the idea for a new restaurant, and that restaurant only closed its doors for good a few years ago. It wasn't an immediate success, but the 1986 French erotic psychological drama Betty Blue helped him out. The movie features a scene of heavy tequila drinking and ends with the main character forlornly eating chili con carne after mercy killing his lover.
Oh my God.
This led to an explosion of Tex-Mex restaurants opening up around Paris.
Wow. That's a morbid reason to open Tex-Mex restaurants.
Yes. Okay. Fun fact. Some restaurants label themselves as Mex-Mex to signify that they have more authentic Mexican dishes. But let's recap. Are you eating Tex-Mex? So black beans instead of pinto beans? Tex-Mex. Giant burrito with a lot of ingredients? Tex-Mex. Chimichangas, nachos, chili con carne, sizzling fajitas, quesadillas with lots of toppings? Tex-Mex. I'm going to end with a quote from the Serious Eats article, which is quoting Ileana de la Vega, the chef and owner of the Mexican restaurant El Naranjo in Austin. She says, quote, "Either Tex-Mex or traditional Mexican, we can all live together. As long as it's well-executed food, then why not?"
Oh.
The end.
Oh my God.
It's all good to me. I'm realizing that most like Mexican restaurants that I go to, like in my neighborhood or in Chicago, is Tex-Mex.
Yeah, agreed. The Mexican places that I go to, I mostly just eat their tacos, and I'd be curious to know like if there's a difference between like Tex-Mex tacos and Mexican tacos. The ones that we eat have like, you know, the corn tortillas, the double corn tortillas, like that kind of with just the meat and then some onions and cilantro, which honestly is all you need. And then you can get your sauces going. But I don't know if that's Mexican or Tex-Mex. I'd be curious to know. But I'm Hungry.
I know.
When you were saying that Tex-Mex is popular in a lot of other places, I was like, yeah, not Great Britain, apparently, as made apparent by Great British Bake Off.
No. It was, we just watched the U.S. Celebrity Great British
I want to see that.
Bake Off. And it's the same, you know, it's Paul and what's her face?
Right.
Prue. And they were saying, they're like, wow, the like American celebrities are like much better bakers than the British celebrities. I'm like, or is it just... Sorry, I don't want to say it, but sometimes, like, some of the stuff on Great British Bake Off, I'm like, there's no way that tastes good.
Right, well, yeah.
I just, like, don't trust that, you know.
No. We've talked about this.
Necessarily.
But We've talked about this.
Sorry, I don't want to insult any British people, but it's not, like, a secret that, like, Great Britain is not known for its cuisine.
It's cuisine, yeah. America is blessed in that we really are an amalgamation of so many different cultures that, like, yeah, like traditional Americana hamburgers, hot dogs, is like standard fare.
Anyway,
but like when you have so many different cultures influencing things, like you get some incredible food stuffs. whether
Yeah.
it's baked goods or not. Like, we're just like a little bit more. I don't
Well,
know.
now I feel bad. I don't know. Look, to our
Don't
British listeners, I love you guys, okay?
don't feel bad. It's okay. They can talk crap about us too. It's okay. Britain's allowed to talk crap about America.
For sure.
We could talk crap about their weird meat pies. So
Yeah,
whatever.
look, I'm the first to talk crap about America. The one thing that we got going for us is ice water and
a lot more food
a
options.
Tex-Mex.
And Tex-Mex. Yeah. Amazing. All right, I guess we could segue into my topic, which comes from the
Nice.
Monday, December 12th New Yorker by Natan Last, 53 across. Refrain from monastic life. And the answer is Gregorian chant.
Amazing.
Which is funny because we were kind of doing a little bit of chanting at the very top of the episode. I don't know if we'll keep it in when I edit this. I'll try to keep it in so that everything is feeling thematic. But if I
We
end
were
up
chanting?
yeah, you said something about chanting. We'll have to see if it stays in because
Okay.
I caught it because I'm doing Gregorian chanting.
Yeah. It's very possible. I don't remember.
It's been a long morning. Yeah, I'm talking about Gregorian chant, and I thought that this was a fun clue. Refrain from monastic life. Like I was like, oh, refrain from monastic life. What could that mean? Like hold yourself back from joining the monastery, and like no, refrain as in music.
Amazing.
I sort of wanted to challenge myself with this topic because I think music theory is very complicated. Every time I've thought about doing a music topic, I get thrown off just because they talk about music theory a lot of times to like describe various things, and I'm not going to really be talking about the music theory behind Gregorian chanting. I'm going to talk about history and other things, but another reason why I decided to choose this topic was when I was in college, there was a kid that used to walk up and down the hallway and Gregorian chant up and down the hallway because it had incredible acoustics, and he must have been Roman Catholic and in a choir or something because he was incredibly good. He was a music student. And so I've always had like a fascination with Gregorian chant because of this particular kid. Anyway, so what in the GDH is Gregorian chant? Gregorian chant is a form of sacred song usually sung in Latin and occasionally Greek, employed within the Roman Catholic Church, and it's been employed for centuries. Gregorian chant has two key distinguishing features. The first is it is unaccompanied, meaning that there are no musical instruments accompanying the singing. And it is monophonic, which means that there is just one melodic line followed by all the singers. This contrasts with later religious and other secular music in which the different voices, soprano, alto, etc., may sing different, although harmonizing, vocal lines. So there is no harmonizing in Gregorian chant. Everybody's singing the same melodic line, which I think that's as deep as I'm going to get in music theory, my friends. And it was hard for me to keep up with just that. So where does Gregorian chant come from? So the tradition of chanting scripture, so that's an important thing, is Gregorian chant is a chanted scripture or prayer. Okay? So the tradition of chanting scripture, it's a practice called cantillation, began at least 1,000 years before the birth of Christ. So this type of music has been around for a very, very long time, long time. Various Old Testament books, especially Psalms and Chronicles, testify to the central function of music in temple worship. So Psalms and Chronicles are like, music's important to worship. It's been around for a very long time. There are some Gregorian melodies that are still in use today are remarkably close to Hebrew synagogue melodies. And there's some examples that I can't pronounce, so I'm not even going to give them to you, but just know
sing.
I'm not gonna Gregorian chant live on air today, but just so you know, Gregorian chant has been influenced by lots of different things to get to where it is now. And it's been around before even, the New Testament was written, some sort of cantillation or chant of some sort. So let's move into early medieval Europe. There were several different types of sacred chant that varied on region. Regions with distinct chants include Rome, Spain, Milan, Gaul, and Benevento. And the types of chant that you might have heard at this time were Old Roman chant, Mozarabic chant, Ambrosian chant, which is actually still around, Gallican chant, and Beneventan chant. Okay?
Okay.
If that's the case, why did Gregorian chant come to be the most widely known and preserved among them? And the answer to this question is related to the religious ideals of a group of people called the Carolingians, which was a group of like a ruling class of people and at a time in early medieval Europe. So Gregorian chant was developed between the 8th and 9th centuries Common Era, during a time when Frankish kings, notably Charlemagne, so that's where Carolingians comes from, like the reign of Charlemagne, his father, and his successors. Notably Charlemagne, who sought liturgical uniformity among his territories. Okay, so when Charlemagne's father, Pepin the Short, which is an incredible name, reigned.
Rude.
Yes. Charlemagne wanted to essentially replace what was currently like the liturgy of the time, which was Frankish Gallican liturgy, with what was happening in Rome. So Charlemagne was looking at what his father was doing and was like, actually, I want to be following the Roman liturgy rather than the Frankish Gallican liturgy. As such, in 1789, when, Charlemagne is finally king, he decreed that all of his territories would be unified under one Roman liturgy and chant. So at the time when his father was around, they were following a certain liturgy, but other regions were doing whatever they wanted. Charlemagne became king, and he was like, F this, everyone's going to do the same thing, and it's going to be the Roman version. So this was newly implemented, and it solidified the reigns of Charlemagne's sons, Louis the Pious, and his grandson, Charles the Bald. I put this in so that we could talk about their names. They're insane. What do you think ours would be? Grace the Anxious and Chelsea the cheesiest? Who knows?
The chaotic.
I think we could swap those two. You could be Grace the Chaotic any day, and I could be Chelsea the Anxious any day. It's great.
Maybe we switch. That's our thing. We switch back and forth depending on the day. And yeah, the bald and the short. Sucks.
Right? And then Louis the Pious, which, okay.
Well, it's not too bad.
Not too bad. Anyway, so when they changed to be following like one liturgy system from Rome, when Charlemagne made this change, they also changed the chanting that they were doing in church. So they were doing various chants depending on the regions, and Charlemagne became king, and he was like, no, we're only going to do Gregorian chant now. And so that kind of like basically stomped out all the other chants that were around, like chanting styles that were around. The only one that really survived to this day is Ambrosian chant. Anyway, so Gregorian chant developed from an amalgamation of Old Roman chant and the Frankish Gallican chant, and consequently, many of the previously mentioned chants went out of style entirely. So that's kind of like how it began. And there's a lot of like religious politics and things that go more into this, but we don't have the time to talk about Charlemagne's religious decisions. So then why the hell is it called Gregorian chant if it's thanks in part to Charlemagne that we have Gregorian chant? There is a popular story that credits Gregorian chant to the hand of Pope Saint Gregory I, or Gregory the Great. According to legend, Gregorian chant was the most sacred and authentic form of liturgical chant, as it was believed to have been sung to Gregory I by the Holy Spirit, who appeared to him in the form of a white dove. And while Gregory may have contributed to like the codification of existing chants that eventually formed the basis of the later Gregorian chant, he was around during the 6th century, a long time before Charlemagne even came onto the scene. So it's just a legend. Gregory the Great did not invent Gregorian chant, but, he was around at a time when all the other chants were happening, and he kind of was like, let's keep chanting going in the church. Chanting is good for the church. He really actually made, again, I can't get into all the religious background, but he essentially made for a landscape in the church for there to be artistic expression via chanting. And therefore all these other chants were able to kind of spring up. And so then when Charlemagne came on the scene, he was like, I like Gregorian chanting the most. And they kept that one. And
I see.
That's Gregorian chanting for dummies. Thank you for listening. Let's see, what else? So, over time, Gregorian chanting became a natural part of the Catholic liturgy, namely because of the simplicity of the sung recitation from the priest and the response of the chanted text by the congregation. So, choirs were left to handle more complex musical things at the time. Gregorian chant is kind of complex now, but at the time, Gregorian chanting was oftentimes used as a way for the priest to sing prayer or sing scripture or chant rather, and then the congregation would sing/chant back. That being said, not all Gregorian chant is simple. It can be incredibly advanced, so the average layperson would not be able to do Gregorian chanting at all. But Gregorian chant is also simple enough for the average layperson or child to pick up. Anyone can technically learn Gregorian chant, and the Catholic Church actually has different levels of how complicated Gregorian chanting is for you to be able to do it. There's the kind that you would do in Mass, and then there's the kind that you'd have to be in a choir to be able to do. Let's see. But essentially, Gregorian chant became popular because it was so simple to use in Mass that the average people could participate. They could be active participants in the Mass. And the stuff that they were participating in was literal scripture. So the priest was singing scripture, they would sing it back, and it was a way to have active participants, but also to learn the scripture better, so on and so forth. But again, this is all happening in Latin. So you gotta know Latin. So I'm talking, when I say the average person, I'm talking the lords and ladies that know their Latin, not necessarily the peasants who are standing in the back who have no idea what in the goddamn hell is going on. So Gregorian chanting has gone in and out of vogue throughout time. In the 15th century, when the popes came back from Avignon, there's a period of time when they were living in France rather than Rome. They came back to Rome. The city was in ruins. So they were like, okay, we're going to invest a ton of money and time in rebuilding Rome and rebuilding culture. And because this church started investing in the clergy, the sacred arts flourished again, namely Gregorian chanting. And so when they were investing money, Gregorian chanting became a thing. And so it was really popular in the 1500s. But then the 16th century hit, and it came with a different type of music, Renaissance polyphony. So Gregorian chanting is monophonic, so there's only one melodic line. Renaissance music came around, and that's when they start introducing tons of harmonies and flourishes to sacred music in the church. And Gregorian chanting essentially went out of vogue, and this Renaissance music was definitely the dominant music of the church. And then Gregorian chanting underwent another revival in the early 20th century with the liturgical reforms of Pope Pius X, followed by, in 1947, Pope Pius XII's encouragement of the lay people to be active participants in the liturgy, further reinforcing Gregorian chanting. Remember, it's rather an accessible form of music. So Pope Pius X actually issued a writing called Mediator Dei, which essentially translates to On the Sacred Liturgy, in which he had a specific paragraph about Gregorian chanting, where he says that Gregorian chant enables people to participate actively, and this is the people's music, and they should be singing it. So that was in the 40s. He was the Vatican was get people singing in church, more get people chanting in church. And then in the 60s, while there were documents issued by the Vatican supporting the use of Gregorian chanting, the church was also actively switching from Latin Mass to the vernacular of the parishes. And so musical forms similar to popular culture, such as praise and worship and folk genres, began to be favored over Gregorian chanting. The philosophy, exactly. The philosophy was, if you're celebrating Mass in the language of the culture, you should be singing the musical genres popular in that culture. That was the 60s. Then, in the 90s, an enormously popular album recorded by the Benedictine monks of Santo Domingo de Silos in Spain, titled Chant, was released. once again renewing interest in the practice of Gregorian chanting. And Gregorian chanting is still incredibly popular to this day, not only in Mass, but as like an art form outside of Catholic Mass. And yeah, you can listen to lots of popular Gregorian chanting. And so I'm going to talk real quickly about how it's performed. It's performed in one of two settings. One, by men and women in religious order, so they would practice it at like monasteries. Or two, by choirs, either of men and boys in churches, like in Mass. And then, of course, you can perform it in Mass as like someone at Mass with the priest. Let's see. It essentially became a huge part of Catholic Mass, and Gregorian chant is still considered the most suitable music for worship by the Catholic Church. But what distinguishes the chants is that the songs are actual prayers and texts vital to the liturgy. For example, when the priest sings, "The Lord be with you," and the congregation responds, "And with your spirit," they are performing Gregorian chant. Most Catholics have performed Gregorian chant at some point in their life. If you've ever attended a Catholic Mass, you have probably participated in Gregorian chant without even realizing it.
That's me.
Let's see. As opposed to hymns, which are meant to decorate the Mass with like meditative spirituality, Gregorian chant is literal scripture. And like we said before, Gregorian chant is monophonic. Everyone sings in unison. And let's see. And then in terms of melody, in comparison to contemporary Western pop culture, Gregorian chant is considered very fluid. Gregorian chant melodies can be syllabic, so a note sung on each syllable. Pneumatic, typically 2 or 4 notes sung per syllable, or melismatic, many notes sung on the vowel of a single syllable, and are often like what it says is called conjunct, where the melodic motion moves in steps, so 1, 2, 3, 4, as opposed to kind of like skips and leaps, like these long, like, that's kind of how I understood it.
Okay, so it makes sense to me.
So that's Gregorian chant. Do you think we have time where I can play you one example of Gregorian chant?
Yes, I thought you were going to ask if we had time to Gregorian chant together.
Gregorian
play me an
chant.
example.
Okay, I'm going to send you one right now. And this is an example of, I believe, what's it called? Melismatic chant, essentially where a single syllable, a single vowel is held over multiple notes. Okay, I'm about to play Grace what is called Kyrie Eleison, which is like one of the most popular Gregorian chants that you might hear at a Catholic Mass, and it'll be put into the podcast, so you'll be able to hear it, but the first essentially 15 seconds are a bunch of notes sung for 4 syllables total, Kyrie Eleison, or 5 syllables. So you'll just see how long they can hold and do so many, notes for 1 syllable when you listen.
All right. Hitting play. Brings me back. I've definitely heard that before. I had no idea that's what they were saying.
Yeah, that is Gregorian chanting. It's rather beautiful. Outside of the context of, I'm not a religious person, so like outside of the context of religion and spirituality as an art form in and of itself, I think it's an incredibly beautiful. It's very like meditative almost, the way that they can kind of like hold on a single word and just like draw it out over many, many notes. And the fact that it's sung a cappella without any arrangements, And everybody's singing the same melodic line. It feels like it's almost like grander in a lot of ways. It feels fuller because everybody's singing the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we could be great Gregorian chanting. Great at
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if we're going into any type of, music, that's probably our best bet.
Yeah, there's single
in a choir of like 50 people.
Exactly. If you know of any Gregorian choirs looking for new chanters,
for fresh new meat, let us know.
Let us know.
Well, I guess that's it for this year. Thanks everyone for listening.
Wow, I can't believe this is it for this year. It's been another crazy year for us. Lots of episodes in the book, lots of topics covered. Let us know if you had a favorite topic from this year. Maybe we'll do a little a New Year recap, a roundup of our past topics. We've done something like that in the past. It could be nice to kick off the year with something like that. But you should let us know if you've had favorite topics this year.
You can write to us on Twitter at The Good Eve Girls.
Or Instagram at The Good Evening Girls.
Or TikTok at The Good Eve Girls.
Come on down, stick around. And in the interim, while we're off on our little holiday break, keep curious, as always. And we'll be back in one piece, happy and healthy and relaxed and freshly plastic surgery early next year.
We'll be fully healed.
Fully healed.
So,
see you then.
See you then. Bye, everyone.